Aspect ratio in film has changed a lot through the history of cinema. An aspect ratio is measured by how much bigger the width of a film is compared to the height. Film sizes varied frequently, with many filmmakers experimenting in the early years of cinema. Film width has ranged from 3mm to 90mm, most of which gave different aspect ratios to the image. It wasn't until the mid-50s that most filmmakers tied down and accepted one size for a lengthy amount of time, leading to it being called and accepted as the industry standard. This was 35mm film with a 1.85 to 1 aspect ratio. However, by the year 2000, film format changed again. The width stayed the same of 35mm film, but the aspect ratio had changed, offering a wider image of 2.35 to 1. Although experimenting filmmakers used different aspect ratios, it was rarely used to enhance the story or visuals of the movie. Most of the time, aspect ratio and film size choice was due to mechanical or budget limitations. When you see an IMAX film, you'll notice the aspect ratio changes repeatedly throughout the film. The IMAX aspect ratio is different from the industry standard, and it results in a taller image. IMAX films change cameras due to the limitations of budget, space for the camera, time for setting up the camera, and the weight of the IMAX camera itself, making shooting IMAX for the whole film impractical. An example of this is in Interstellar. We see the taller IMAX image more often on special effects shots, static shots, and longer shots, whereas we see the industry standard camera is used on quick cuts, shots with a lot of movement, or some tighter scenes where IMAX cameras would not fit or would create too much noise, as it's comparable to the sound of a chainsaw. This hasn't stopped filmmakers using it creatively though. Wes Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel made the creative choice to switch between 3 aspect ratios throughout the film. The story features 3 different time eras, each era is complemented by the most common aspect ratio of that time. This was done to produce an authentic feeling in the visuals on screen, and to easily identify what era is currently being shown. Life of Pi uses aspect ratio in a creative storytelling way. So much energy is bubbling on screen the fish explode out of frame, jumping into the black bars adding a 3D effect. Oz the Great and Powerful does this too with fire breathing. The movie and comic book of Scott Pilgrim both have taken inspiration from stereotypical westerns. They use wide aspect ratios to identify action scenes and add a serious tenseness to the battle. Film genres have become so synonymous with certain aspect ratios, and some filmmakers avoid using wide ratios for documentaries. This is due to the universal thought that seeing black bars means you're watching a fictional film. So naturally, documentary makers don't use wide aspect ratios, as they don't want to take away from the realness of the story. Certain aspect ratios and film sizes have been favoured by filmmakers such as Quentin Tarantino and Christopher Nolan, who both stylise with larger film formats and ratios. These larger formats give more detail to the image, and are often shown on cinema screens much larger, including IMAX. Both directors cite their love for this as it is a more immersive experience by having the whole of your vision filled by a movie. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to Honey Bear for more content. I'm Ryan, and thanks for watching.